Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Gossips 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The sun had barely risen over Los Angeles, but the storm inside the Forrester mansion was already at full force. Brooke Logan sat in the kitchen, nursing a cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago, her mind racing faster than the traffic on the 405. The events of the last few days had left her reeling. She had always known that life with Ridge, with the constant twists and turns of love, business and family, was never going to be simple. But never, not in a million years, did she imagine it could spiral into something so terrifying. Taylor Hayes, the woman who had once been a close friend, a sister-in-law and sometimes confidant, had crossed a line Brooke thought was unimaginable. Brooke's heart pounded in her chest as she remembered the way Taylor had looked at her the night before. Eyes cold, lips pressed into a thin line, calculating. There had been no warmth, no hesitation. Just a quiet, chilling intensity that told Brooke, without a single word, that Taylor's obsession had reached a dangerous point. It had started subtly, like an undercurrent in a calm sea. Taylor had been distant, distracted, always watching Brooke, always asking questions that seemed innocent but carried a weight beneath them. "How are you feeling, Brooke?" she would ask, voice soft, almost maternal. But there was something off in the tilt of her head, the glint in her eyes. Brooke, initially dismissing it as Taylor's own stress from the clinic and the endless complications of family life, had ignored the creeping unease. Then came the whispers. Katie had noticed too. The hushed conversations between Taylor and someone on the phone, the way she would vanish for hours only to return with an expression that was impossible to read. "I think she's hiding something," Katie had whispered one afternoon as they sorted through a mountain of Forrester Designs paperwork. Brooke had nodded, pretending she hadn't noticed, but deep down, a sense of dread had begun to take root. The breaking point came when a package arrived at Brooke's doorstep. She hadn't recognized the return address, only a nondescript envelope with her name scrawled in a neat, precise hand. Inside was a single photograph. Brooke, taken from a distance, walking down a quiet street, unaware of the lens that had captured her every move. There was nothing else, no note, no explanation. But the message was clear. Someone was watching her. Someone who knew her routines, her vulnerabilities. And Brooke's mind immediately went to Taylor. The thought was ludicrous, horrifying, but it fit. Who else could have the access, the knowledge, the obsession? Ridge had been frantic when Brooke had told him. His face, normally a mask of confidence and composure, had been etched with fear. He held her close, feeling the tremors that shook her from the inside out, and swore, as he always did, that nothing would ever hurt her. But Brooke could see the cracks in his resolve. He was desperate, yes, but helpless in a way that terrified her. They both knew that this wasn't a simple argument over business or family. This was far beyond that. This was life and death. Taylor, meanwhile, had moved silently, meticulously, like a shadow with a plan. She had contacted someone. A professional, someone who could execute the unthinkable. The idea that Taylor could hire a killer, someone to harm Brooke, was something Brooke struggled to comprehend. The woman she had once trusted, the mother figure to Hope and Steffi, the former wife of Ridge, now stood on the opposite side, a dangerous adversary. The betrayal was staggering. Brooke's mind raced through memories of Taylor's life, the moments when she had shown kindness, guidance, and care. How could someone capable of such warmth be capable of plotting something so monstrous? The tension at Forrester Designs escalated. Every phone call Brooke received, every unexpected visitor, sent a shiver down her spine. She began noticing subtle changes in her surroundings. Doors slightly ajar, her office files moved, her car parked in unusual spots. Each incident was minor on its own, but together they painted a horrifying picture. Someone was closing in, and Taylor was orchestrating it all. Katie confronted Taylor first, unable to contain her suspicions any longer. She had caught her speaking to a man whose face she had never seen before, a man whose presence made her skin crawl. "Taylor, what are you doing?" Katie had demanded, cornering her in the hallway of the clinic. Taylor's expression, calm and controlled, was the first real warning sign. "Katie, you worry too much," she said smoothly. "I'm just taking care of things that need to be handled." Katie, sensing the danger but unable to prove it, had left shaken and more convinced than ever that Brooke's life was in jeopardy. Brooke, in the meantime, had started confiding in Ridge about the escalating fear. They had decided to hire private security, to stay in constant contact, and yet no amount of caution seemed enough. Taylor was always one step ahead, a ghost in the shadows, meticulous and unyielding. Brooke's friends began noticing her anxious glances, the way she flinched at every sound, the sleepless nights spent staring at the ceiling. The vibrant, unstoppable Brooke Logan was fading, replaced by someone gripped with fear. One night, as the city lights glittered like distant stars, Brooke found herself alone in the mansion, Ridge away on business. She heard the soft creak of the front door and froze. Her mind raced. Could it be Taylor? Could it be the person she had hired? Every instinct screamed danger. She reached for her phone, hands trembling, dialing Ridge, only to hear the dial tone, a sign that the line had been cut. Panic surged and she realized that she was completely vulnerable. The reality hit her like a freight train. Someone was in the house, and Brooke had no idea who it was or what their intentions might be. Meanwhile, Taylor was in a dimly lit room across town, reviewing her plan one last time. Her resolve was unwavering. Every detail had been accounted for, every contingency considered. She wasn't acting out of anger or revenge, at least not in the conventional sense, but out of a twisted sense of justice, a belief that Brooke needed to be removed from the picture once and for all. She had convinced herself that this was necessary, rationalized every step, and in doing so, had become something unrecognizable even to herself. The stakes were higher than ever. Brooke's life hung in the balance, Ridge's love and determination were tested like never before, and the entire Forrester Logan family was teetering on the edge of chaos. In a world where secrets could kill and betrayals cut deeper than any blade, Brooke had to rely on her wits, her courage, and the love that bound her to Ridge if she hoped to survive. As the night stretched on, the tension was unbearable. Every shadow in the mansion seemed alive, every sound amplified into a warning. Brooke couldn't shake the feeling that Taylor was watching, waiting, planning the moment when she would strike. And somewhere in the darkness, Taylor's plan was unfolding with precision, ready to shake the foundation of the Forrester legacy and leave Brooke's fate in the hands of forces she could barely comprehend. In the next hours, decisions would be made that could alter lives forever. Brooke would have to confront the unimaginable. That the woman she once trusted might be the one who intended to end her life. Friends would be tested, alliances questioned, and secrets revealed that no one could have anticipated. In the world of the bold and the beautiful, love, betrayal, and danger often walk hand in hand, and Brooke Logan was about to learn just how deadly that path could be. The next morning, Brooke awoke with a sense of foreboding she could not shake. The previous night's terror lingered in her mind like a shadow that refused to retreat. She walked through the mansion cautiously, eyes scanning for any sign of intrusion, every creak of the floorboards making her heart race. Ridge was still on a business trip, and even though she knew he would return soon, the distance felt insurmountable. It wasn't just fear. It was the realization that someone very close to her, was orchestrating the chaos that now surrounded her life. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her spiraling thoughts. It was Katie. Brooke quickly answered, her voice trembling slightly. "Brooke, are you okay?" Katie asked immediately, concern evident in her tone. I don't know, Katie," Brooke admitted. "I feel like someone is watching me. I feel like I'm in danger. And I can't prove anything yet." Katie's response was sharp, protective. "Brooke, listen. I've been paying attention and I don't like this. Taylor, I think she's involved in something very dangerous. You need to be careful. I'll help you figure this out, but you can't go at this alone." Brooke swallowed hard, realizing how precarious her situation had become. She wasn't just dealing with a business rivalry or family feud. This was personal. And if Taylor's obsession had indeed escalated to hiring someone to harm her, Brooke's life could literally hang by a thread. By mid-morning, Ridge had returned. He walked into the mansion, weary from travel but instantly alert as he sensed the tension in Brooke's demeanor. He dropped his briefcase, took her hands in his and searched her eyes. "Brooke, talk to me," he demanded, a mix of frustration and fear in his voice. "What's going on?" Brooke recounted everything, the photograph, the missing phone line, the unnerving sense of being watched. Ridge's jaw clenched as he listened. He had always known that Taylor's possessiveness could be intense, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. "Taylor, she wouldn't," Ridge said slowly, almost as if saying it aloud made it more real. But Brooke shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. "I've seen the signs, Ridge. I felt it in my bones. She's planning something. I don't know what, but it's bad. And I don't think she's alone." Ridge immediately called in Thomas, Liam, and even Wyatt, alerting them to the possibility that Brooke's life was in danger. The Forrester household, normally a hub of creativity and family drama, transformed into a fortress overnight. Security cameras were installed, guards patrolled the grounds, and Brooke carried a sense of hypervigilance that never left her side. Yet, despite all precautions, Taylor continued to move with ghost-like precision. She never left obvious traces, never made a misstep. She was calculating, cold, and driven by a need Brooke could never understand. Every time Brooke thought she had figured out Taylor's motive, a new piece of evidence or a subtle manipulation sent her spiraling into doubt and fear. One evening, Brooke decided to confront Taylor directly. She couldn't live in constant terror, waiting for the next invisible threat. She arranged a meeting at the clinic, under the pretense of discussing an upcoming charity event. When Taylor entered the room, she looked calm, serene even, but Brooke knew better. She could feel the tension radiating off her like heat from a fire. "Taylor, we need to talk," Brooke said, voice firm despite the anxiety gnawing at her. Taylor smiled faintly, her expression a mix of innocence and cunning. "Of course, Brooke. What's on your mind?" Brooke stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I know what you're doing. I know you're behind this, and I want answers." Taylor's smile never wavered. "Brooke, you always jump to conclusions. I care about our family, about Ridge. I would never do anything to hurt you." Brooke's eyes narrowed. "Don't lie to me, Taylor. I have proof. I felt it. And if anything happens to me, Ridge will never forgive you." Taylor's expression hardened ever so slightly, just a flicker, but Brooke saw it. The mask of serenity cracked, revealing the storm beneath. "Be careful, Brooke," Taylor said softly, her tone eerily calm. "Sometimes the truth isn't what you think it is." Brooke left the meeting shaken, more convinced than ever that Taylor was capable of anything. And she realized that confrontation alone wouldn't stop her. She needed to uncover the full extent of Taylor's plan, and fast. Meanwhile, Taylor had begun putting the final pieces into place. She had enlisted the help of a man whose reputation in Los Angeles was whispered about in fear. He was professional, precise, and unflinching, exactly what Taylor needed to ensure her plan succeeded. She reviewed the schedule carefully, knowing Brooke's habits, her routines, even the people she trusted most. Every move was accounted for, every contingency considered. As the days passed, the tension in Brooke's life escalated to a breaking point. Minor incidents, an open window, a misplaced object, a strange phone call, were now terrifying reminders that she was being stalked. Ridge noticed her growing anxiety, the way her eyes darted to every shadow, her hands shaking as she carried out even the simplest tasks. He held her close each night, vowing that nothing would ever harm her under his watch. But even he could not shake the chilling realization that Taylor's plan was unfolding, methodical and relentless. Then came the first real threat, a close call that nearly left Brooke in the hospital. She had been walking to her car late at night, the streets quiet, the city seemingly asleep. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, moving with intent. Brooke froze, terror gripping her as she realized that she was completely vulnerable. Just as the figure lunged, Ridge appeared, having been tipped off by one of the security guards, and intervened. The attacker fled, leaving Brooke shaken but alive. The incident confirmed Brooke's worst fears. Taylor's plan was not a threat in theory. It was real, immediate, and dangerous. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, to leave Los Angeles, to escape the web that Taylor had spun. But Brooke, resilient and fierce, refused to be intimidated. She knew she had to fight to protect herself, her family, and her life. Back at Taylor's house, she watched the news of the foiled attack with calm satisfaction. Her plan had nearly succeeded, and she was already thinking 3 steps ahead. Brooke would never see it coming, she believed. And yet, somewhere deep within, a flicker of doubt lingered, a small voice questioning whether she had gone too far. Taylor dismissed it quickly, replacing it with determination. There was no turning back now. As Brooke and Ridge strategized, they realized that the only way to survive was to draw Taylor out, to force her hand. They began setting traps of their own, gathering evidence, and enlisting the help of those they trusted most. Every move was calculated, every interaction a potential revelation. The stakes had never been higher. In a city where power, obsession, and danger intertwined, Brooke was in a battle for her very life, and she couldn't afford a single misstep. The climactic confrontation came late one night at the Forrester mansion. Brooke, guided by Ridge and the security team, waited in the darkened living room, every muscle tense, every nerve on edge. The door creaked. A shadow fell across the floor. Brooke's heart pounded in her chest as she saw Taylor step inside. Composed, confident, and utterly terrifying. "You just don't know when to quit, do you?" Brooke said, voice steady despite the fear. Taylor smiled faintly. "Brooke, I only did what had to be done. For the family. For Ridge." Ridge stepped forward, protective and resolute. "Taylor, this ends tonight. No more games. No more threats." For a tense moment, the air between them crackled with danger. Then Brooke's voice rang out, clear and firm. "Taylor, it's over. Whatever you think you're trying to achieve, it's over. You're not going to win." Taylor's mask faltered, her eyes flashing with emotion, anger, obsession, and perhaps regret. The confrontation ended with Brooke and Ridge firmly in control, Taylor's plot exposed, and the threat neutralized. The relief was palpable, but the scars of fear, betrayal, and near tragedy would linger. Brooke had survived, but the memory of Taylor's obsession, her willingness to cross unimaginable lines, would never be forgotten. Even after Taylor's plot had been exposed, Brooke couldn't shake the feeling of vulnerability. The mansion felt different now. Every hallway, every shadow, every closed door carried the memory of danger. Ridge stayed close, his protective presence a constant comfort, but Brooke knew that the psychological scars would linger long after the immediate threat had passed. She spent hours pacing, replaying every detail in her mind, analyzing every interaction with Taylor that had once seemed innocent but now carried sinister undertones. Meanwhile, Taylor was sequestered in her home, surrounded by evidence of her meticulous planning. She stared at a wall of notes and photographs, her mind a whirlpool of rationalizations and regrets. She had always believed that her actions were for the greater good, that removing Brooke, even temporarily, from Ridge's life would somehow protect the family. But the near tragedy, the fear in Brooke's eyes, the closeness with which Ridge had protected her, it all began to crack her carefully constructed justifications. For the first time, Taylor felt the weight of her obsession, the danger of letting her emotions dictate actions. Back at the mansion, Ridge and Brooke met with security experts and legal advisors to ensure that nothing like this could happen again. They reviewed security footage, installed new safeguards, and discussed the possibility of restraining orders or criminal investigations. Brooke, exhausted but resolute, refused to be paralyzed by fear. "I can't live my life constantly looking over my shoulder," she told Ridge one late evening, her voice firm but tinged with exhaustion. "We have to take action, yes, but we can't let fear rule us." Katie, ever vigilant, continued to monitor Taylor's movements, coordinating with Ridge to ensure Brooke's safety. The three women, Brooke, Katie, and even Taylor, in a twisted parallel, were locked in a psychological battle of wits and wills. Taylor, aware that her plan had failed, began to consider her next moves, questioning whether her obsession had gone too far. Brooke, on the other hand, realized that surviving this ordeal required not only physical safety but mental resilience. She started documenting everything: unusual calls, suspicious visitors, and Taylor's increasingly erratic behavior. Each note, each observation, strengthened Brooke's position and empowered her to face the storm with clarity rather than fear. One afternoon, as Brooke reviewed her notes, she received a call from Taylor herself. The tone was eerily calm, almost cordial, but Brooke sensed the tension beneath every word. "Brooke," Taylor said, "I think we need to talk. There are things you don't understand." Brooke's grip on the phone tightened. Part of her wanted to hang up immediately to avoid any risk, but another part, her resilient, defiant part, knew she couldn't let Taylor manipulate her any longer. "Fine," Brooke said slowly, her voice steady. "We can talk. But I'm done being afraid." As the call ended, Brooke felt a strange mix of dread and determination. She knew that the battle wasn't over. Not truly. But she also knew she had the strength, the support, and the courage to survive whatever came next. Taylor's obsession had nearly destroyed her, but it had also revealed something deeper. Brooke's unshakable resilience, her ability to face danger head-on, and her unwavering commitment to protect herself and her family. In the quiet moments that followed, Brooke stared out the window at the sprawling Los Angeles skyline. The city was alive with light and movement, oblivious to the darkness that had nearly touched her life. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the ordeal lift just slightly. The storm had passed for now, but the lessons remained. Brooke Logan, survivor of obsession, betrayal, and danger, was ready to reclaim her life, stronger than ever before.